Sony just had their first State of Play of 2024, and for most people it was pretty good, and for busy gamers, there definitely is some stuff in there worth checking out. Personally, I'm not going to interrupt my backlog to get any of these games, but let's take a look into what they showed. First up was Stellar Blade. It looks a lot like Final Fantasy 16. If you're into anime stuff, it definitely looked mostly in-game stuff, which is pretty cool to see, and the action was definitely non-stop. To me, there's just like a bunch of weird, devilish looking creatures and stuff in there. I'm not totally into that stuff, but if that's what you're into, then it definitely looks like a pretty cool thing. It releases pretty soon. Next up was a Sonic and Shadow game. It looks like a remake of Sonic Generations. This looks actually pretty decent. If you're a busy gamer and you like nostalgia stuff, this is probably right up your alley because it looks like there's a bunch of Sonic Adventure stuff, a lot of the stuff from the GameCube and kind of just PS2 era stuff that you can really replay. And this looks maybe like a game that you might want to interrupt your backlog for if you're a Super Sonic fan. Next up was Zenless Zone Zero. I honestly have no idea anything about that game. Next up we've got Foamstar. Yay. It's definitely PlayStation's answer to Splatoon, albeit maybe less vibrantly colorful. Who is really excited about this game from the start? I will say, I think as a really funny twist, it is part of PS Plus instead of actually paying for it as a whole separate $60 full price game. So maybe that's any consolation. So that kind of, is a little bit more worth maybe the jump into it for at least a few hours anyway. Next up, we had Dave the Diver, and I've never played this. I know the controversy around this. This was almost Indie Game of the Year at the Game Awards this past year. But the really cool thing is that Godzilla is coming to this. Now, if you're like me and you kind of grew up on some Godzilla movies, then this might be your cup of tea. If not, then it's an indie game. It's an indie game made by a AAA studio, and this might be worth picking up. V Rising, I believe this is the game that is coming to PlayStation that is brought to you from Moon Studios, and it's kind of weird that that's going on PlayStation and Xbox in the same day because I believe that is a Microsoft-owned studio. Next, we have Silent Hill: The Short Message, and this was kind of funny because it's a free game that's free, it's free to play, and it's on PlayStation right now. Like, you can just go download it right now. It's interesting that they've used modern tech in this game because the funny thing about it is most horror games, most horror content in general, I feel like is kind of based in the 80s before cell phones were even available, because if you set a horror themed movie or TV show or video game, whatever then usually if you have a phone in there, of course it's out of service. But the way this is used in here is actually pretty clever, I thought. So you have the girl using the phone as a flashlight, and then you have it kind of malfunctioning in a kind of funny, maybe different kind of way. Either way, if you're a horror fan, this will probably be right up your alley. We also have in development Silent Hill 2. Next, from the creator of BioShock, the tagline is "Fix what you broke." This game looks actually pretty decent. Like, I am very picky with first-person shooters. A lot of them are a dime a dozen. I mean, I'm one to talk. I'm playing through the Halo series for the first time. I just picked up an Xbox, but this game actually looks pretty decent. It looks a little freaky, but it looks like a pretty good game. Next, we finally get our hands on some more PSVR 2 content, which has kind of been lackluster. You have the initial launch of the console with some games on there, and then there's controversy surrounding it because it cost more than the PlayStation 5 itself, and there's not a whole ton of games for it, really. And they had a second wave last fall, I think it was, and now there's like a couple extra. So I don't know. Like I feel like it half attempted this thing. Let me know what you think in the comments about it. Like I'm super 50-50 on it. I mean, I'm not going to interrupt my backlog of games to get one of these. Like I think the Meta Quest is really more worth it, to be honest. Next up we had Dragon's Dogma 2, and up until this game, it's been a pretty like like very quick, no longer than really a minute showcasing the games up until this point. Then we come to Rise of the Ronin, and then this type of game seems very popular these days. You have Ghost of Tsushima, you have so like several other games in this genre. You have Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. I'm sure this game is going to be very popular. This game is probably going to be one of the highest selling games I'm predicting of this year. And if you like that kind of game, then you'll definitely be right at home here. Until Dawn is a PS4 game that is being remade for PS5 and PC. Oof, I got some thoughts on this one. So it's kind of funny that we're getting PS4 games remade for PS5. Like, why are we focused on this generation? I mean, PS4 games already look great as it is. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be fun. I mean, Until Dawn is objectively a good game, but like, I don't really think we need to be. I mean, and you can already play it on your PS5. I don't know. There's going to be some frame rate upgrades and stuff, but other than that, like, I'm not really. I wish Sony would dig out of their back catalog, like, I don't know, maybe remake an Ape Escape, Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic. Wait. Then finally, the show capped off with Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I didn't really see a ton of gameplay in it so much as there was a lot of story and stuff in it. I mean, this trailer looked pretty crazy. Like, I mean, we all know Hideo Kojima and his shenanigans. Like, this game is just going to be like insane. I'm a fan of Hideo Kojima. I love Hideo Kojima. I love the first 4 Metal Gear games. I've played a little bit of Peace Walker. I never finished it. I have tried several times to start Metal Gear Solid 5, and I just, for whatever reason, it's just one of those games where I just cannot seem to finish it for some reason. Death Stranding 2 was one of those games like I've never wanted to interrupt my backlog for, and I've heard it's really great, and being a book fan, I have the book in my Audible queue, but I think Audible is as far as I'm gonna go with Death Stranding. But this new one looks really cool and really wild. Is it gonna be as good as the first one? Death Stranding fans, let me know. I'm gonna say, I mean, this is probably gonna be top tier for you busy gamers out there. You're probably gonna get this one on day one. This might not be your most anticipated game of the year. I honestly think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is, which at the end of the video they said that's coming on a separate state of play, focusing specifically on that on February 7th. Kojima said that he is making a piece of media that's transcending movies and games. So we'll have to see what that is. Like, I know Kojima's always newsworthy, no matter if it's a good game or maybe a not as popular game. Either way, I'm sure there's going to be something really interesting there coming up in the next few years. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you picking any of these up day one? Are you waiting for a sale on these? Or do none of these attract your attention at all? Either way, let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one.